Welcome to Real Estate AI Flash, the podcast that helps you understand how AI is changing real estate and the strategies you can use to win. I'm your host, Rajiv Sajja. In today's episode, I sit down with Luis Poggi, co-founder and CEO of HouseWhisper.ai, to discuss how AI is changing the way agents manage relationships, follow up with clients, and deliver a more personalized experience at scale. Drawing on his decade leading product and engineering teams at Zillow, Luis shares why the future of AI isn't about replacing agents, it's about giving them an intelligent assistant that handles the busy work so they can focus on the conversations that matter the most. We also explore the rapid evolution of AI models, what startup founders are learning on the front lines of AI innovation, and why the companies that win will stay relentlessly focused on solving real customer problems. If you're curious about where AI powered assistants are headed and what that means for the future of real estate, you'll enjoy this conversation. Let's get to it with Luis. Welcome to another episode of Real Estate AI Flash. And today I have Luis Poggi, from co-founder and CEO of HouseWhisper.ai. So Luis and I have been sort of meeting each other at conferences. And I think, Luis, I first met you at maybe the T3 AI workshop last year in Austin. And then we met at the T3 Leadership Summit in Orlando. And I knew you were doing really good work in the industry. And we usually feature agents, but we also bring in entrepreneur startup folks that are adding value to the industry. And I couldn't wait to get you on. So Luis, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be here with you chatting.
Yeah. So I know you have a background with working in Zillow, some of the people that you've started with. So give us your background in real estate and sort of bring us to today.
Yeah, so I spent a decade at Zillow managing product and engineering. I joined very early on this journey, which was fantastic, building with very smart people at Zillow. Yeah. And I love every minute of when I joined this industry. I came from, I was in consumer products, travel industry, and then joined real estate. And I love the problem and the space and how you can actually end up helping humans getting one of the most important decisions in their life, which is getting the right home for them.
Yeah.
So that has become a passion of mine. And so I spent a decade, every touch, a bunch of things at Zillow. If you have a complaint, maybe it's my fault. So, but it has been a really amazing experience there. So then after a decade, I decided to start my own company. It was a dream of mine, and left Zillow, very good relationships, Zillow, and I decided to start my own company. And actually, my co-founders are Alex Kotner, who was an engineer at Zillow for a decade as well, and my chairman is Spencer Raskoff, who used to be the CEO of Zillow for a long time. So keeping very connected with Zillow, but this industry is something that I really, really like. It's really fun, and it has a big impact in society.
Yeah, for sure. And what was fun was, I know you mentioned that, at the T3 Leadership Summit in Orlando, you were on a panel of all ex-Zillow employees that are doing different things. And, it just told me that, Zillow's obviously added a tremendous amount of value in what they do in all aspects of home ownership. And several people have left there and are doing amazing things, including yourself. So I'd love to get into HouseWhisper, but before I get there, so what was your, obviously, you built an AI solution that serves brokers and agents. What was your biggest light bulb moment with AI?
Look, it was actually before the ChatGPT. It was in 2020 with a friend. I'm also a musician, and a friend told me, "Did you see what this little startup is doing with a thing called GPT?" I think it was they just released the GPT-3, and we actually said, "Can we use that to create music?" So and this again, now there's plenty of companies doing that, but this was 5 years ago. And I remember applying to OpenAI to get access to their APIs, getting access, and at night playing. And the first time I used it, it was 5 a.m. and I was still so it was wonder of what this could look like. And then the second one was I left Zillow and I was obsessed with this. So I went actually to study. The first thing I did, I went back to Harvard Business School and take classes there with a professor that I had before when I did the MBA, who's expert in AI. And I remember being in class the day that ChatGPT was out. And he came to the class saying, this is the Napster moment for the internet. This is the Napster moment for AI. And it's a new, since that
So
moment, I think that was a tipping point.
yeah. So Louis, you're telling me that if you had a deep passion for music, you could have been the co-founder of Suno as well?
Exactly. I should have.
So I created. It's a fun story. So I had, you know, 2 years ago. This, my God, that seems like a decade with AI. But
Yes.
I wanted to do a Valentine Day song for my wife. And I went to Suno for that. I mean, I've done Suno songs before that, but I said, let me just do something really, really personal with our history, where we met, kids, family, like the whole thing. And it was, my wife said that's the best Valentine's Day gift I've ever given, because it was so deeply personal versus
Yes,
just a
exactly.
simple gift. And my kids listened to it. I just no. So yeah. So you could have co-founded two companies, if not more, Liz. So let's get to what problems. There's several problems. Everything I feel like in real estate is an opportunity for an entrepreneur to actually solve that problem, right? So what was the genesis of you saying, you know what, HouseWhisper.ai is, we want to, let's talk about that product and how did it came about, and we'll get into the
Yes.
spec.
Yeah, I think the facts that I saw when I was at Zillow, so that really keep me itchy to see how can we solve it with this technology, is Zillow sends tons of clients to agents, and in the same zip code, the same home, and one top performing agent can convert that lead 4 or 5 times more than an average agent.
Yeah.
And then you wonder, okay, it's salesmanship, which is true, is a big chunk, but it's not the biggest. The biggest part is having the right processes, is having
Yeah.
the right follow up, the follow through. And I do believe that with this technology, you can actually do a bunch of that. So
Yeah.
then you can elevate. And why is important? Yes, you can increase conversion, more transactions. But for me, the ultimate goal for the company is how we can help final consumers, the buyers and sellers. That's what motivates me.
Yeah.
But I don't believe you can do that without an agent. The agent is the center, because it's such an important financial decision, an emotional decision, that you need a human. The real estate agent is critical for this transaction. But a real estate agent cannot do that personalization and long-term nurture by hand. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's
Impossible.
actually impossible. But now with this technology, you can do that. So that is what we're really focusing on. How can we help guide customers to the moment when they are ready to then have the human connection and get
Yeah.
help them through the process.
Yeah.
That's the motivation number one for us.
Yeah. I've always said, like successful real estate agents are amazing human connectors, right? They are very good at human connection and average at technology, right? I mean, the traditional agent. And unless you have good systems in place, you really won't be able to spend more time on the human connection.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And I gravitated to a quote that says, automate the ordinary so you can personalize the extraordinary. Right.
Amazing. I
But
love that.
so I mean, systems, as long as you have good systems in place, your business can run, and you can do the things that are most important to you. So let's get into HouseWhisper.ai specifically. If I was an agent or a broker listening to this podcast, and you talk to me about the specific value proposition, let's double click on that a little bit more.
Yeah. And based on a big insight for us has been, there's plenty of tooling in the industry. The problem is adoption. There's a lot of lack of adoption of this. And then you say why adoption is hard. And there are a couple of reasons. Number one, multiple systems is clunky. and you need to remember to log in. And the reality is the agent is on the go most of the time. And it's with this thing driving around. And so then after a meeting with a client, going to your CRM, opening, logging in, remember adding notes, taking things, and only a few agents can do that, or they have assistants to do that. So that was, I built some products for agents within Zillow, and we gave it for free, and people don't use it. So we said, okay, how can we actually change that? And I truly believe that's why I was so excited with this technology, because given our language model created in our own language, you can talk to a human, to this technology, and this tech can do things for you by just command. With a no, you don't have to learn that much. So that was the insight. And so what we did is we said, okay, let's start. The number one product that we launched a year and a half ago has been, okay, how can we optimize some of the basic things that agents should do? Having a plan for your day, making sure you update your CRM, you make notes in your CRM, you manage your calendar. So we created this assistant. There is a phone number. The onboarding is very simple. You receive a text message, you name your assistant, you tell your preference of what time you want the assistant to, like if you hire an assistant, and then it calls you, it checks your calendar, you have a meeting, it says, hey, how was the meeting with Luis? It calls you, you just speak, and then suddenly everything is in your CRM, in your calendar, your task, your to-dos. So that was the entry point for us, is how we can make this technology so simple by text message and voice that becomes your real assistant. You don't have to manage any system. So we connected with multiple CRMs, with your calendar, etc. So it manages your system. That was our entry point. Now what we're doing is agents are saying, okay, can you do more? Can you actually help me doing more things and reaching out to some of the clients or helping with some clients? So we enter in the space now of, okay, we take it from here. A new lead comes in, we can schedule it. So you go, we say, I'm the assistant. You want to meet with John? Great. At 2 p.m., I set the time. I can see the calendars. I can set it. Or we can follow up, send information, always with the agent at the center, but doing things for the agent more naturally. That's the design principle that I think this technology actually is changing how we work.
So what I love about your approach is the lowest common denominator of anything is like every real estate agent can talk and text, and that's all you need to use the tech, right? Like literally. That's one. The second part is now you're moving to doing things for them, and that's sort of what we're seeing with even the large language models. Like fun thing, Louis, I mean, I've been using Claude for a while. Claude Cowork now recently says record your skill. You can record, walk it through, and basically told it a whole skill of building my newsletter. So I have a newsletter that goes out every Tuesday morning, and I do it manually because I like to write. I mean, but there's processes in the newsletter where I go and get your headshot, like the podcast headshot, news I put in there, and some manual. I just walked through the whole process in the skill, and it built me a skill in Claude.
It's incredible.
And it got me 90% there where I was doing 60, 70% manual, because you're walking through the exact process. So it's becoming very easy to sort of empower, HouseWhisper.ai. So I'd love to kind of double click on CRMs. You mentioned some integrations. Obviously, you probably are connected to the big ones, Follow Boss of the world, and
Yep.
and things like that. So you're moving into becoming a virtual assistant now, which is where the space you're going into. So talk about most common things that you find agents asking you for, that you're already doing, and what's on your roadmap.
Yes. Number one for the virtual assistant is updating the CRM. So the number one use case is after an appointment, we text or we call the agent, and the agent actually was driving. You can hear that they're driving the car, and they say, yeah, I met with this person. They wanted a 2-bedroom home, and they didn't like this home because of this. So the assistant will say, okay, do you want me to change your safe search? Do you want me to add a new appointment? Yes, actually, we set up an appointment for Saturday at 10 a.m. Perfect. Any next step? Yes, to send this. Okay. So, and then we update the CRM with all of that. And then the other aspect we do with that is that then the next time you meet for the Saturday meeting, before the meeting, you can set it up so it sends you a text. Remember, last time you mentioned this, this, and this. So you are prepared for the next conversation.
Yeah.
So that's a very simple, it's a very simple reminder and updating the CRM. But what we do with that is that we, based on that, then we change the stage or the tags in the CRM, which team leads and managers, they want, and as an agent, you want to know where your pipeline is. So then you have all the CRM, suddenly it becomes useful. That's
Yeah.
the number one. And the second one that we're doing is, as I mentioned, the area that we're working a lot right now is having HouseWhisper reaching out to past clients, your database, or new leads coming in. And one thing, as you know, this is a very common, well-known metrics that new leads coming into your website, speed to lead, is critical. And over again, even from the top teams, the speed to lead is so bad.
Yeah.
It's someone in front of a home asking for that home and they don't get an answer until the next day or 2 days after, or never.
Oh,
People going to a
yeah.
Zillow profile asking questions about you is a free lead and no one actually responds. So we are responding very transparent, and we are the assistant. You inquire about this, you want to see it, I can connect you with an agent. And then we do all the routing and escalation and making sure the agent actually responds. If they don't respond, we go to another within the same team,
Yeah.
another agent to say, it's your turn. So those are the main use cases that we're seeing, that I actually very, very excited going to that route now, because the way, look, the way we think about this, we see this as a partnership with the agents, where actually the way the company is evolving is we help you convert more leads, we help you bring more transactions, and we're actually evolving our pricing too, how we monetize this, to be okay. If we help you bring in this lead from your database, we help you connecting to your agent, we help the agent actually follow through, then let's align on incentives, on output. So we're playing with that, because I believe actually AI goes that way. It's not how much you use it, it's not how much perceived, it's more AI should be aligned with outcomes. AI
Outcomes.
is making you good better, transact more, make more money, then it should be aligned with that. So that's how we are evolving the company towards.
Yeah. So you worked at Zillow for like a decade, right?
Yeah.
So if I were to sort of ask you a couple of things around your experience, what were your key things you sort of learned from that experience that's helped you with HouseWhisper?
I would say the number one is how customer obsessed
Oh yeah.
is Zillow. So I remember we had the names for our personas: Beth the buyer, Susan the seller. But the important thing, and Alan the agent, the important thing was so ingrained in the culture that you were in a conversation, you will mention, no, Beth will not like that. Beth will not say that. Beth, and all the research will be there to support. So that customer obsession, I remember first year at Zillow, and one of the things that we did that I was in charge was changing some of the foreclosure, pre-foreclosure data on Zillow, which we were making money through a partnership, but it was not a good user experience. And the founder says, no, this is not a good user experience. We will lose this money, but this is a better user experience and better for the long term. Those type of bold decisions that other companies really focusing on profit would have never done that.
Yeah.
So for me, that actually it guides how we build products. We are
Yeah.
thinking on the consumer, and actually the consumer, the buyer and the seller, and of course the agent. But thinking about the buyer and the agent, if we're doing good things for the buyer and seller, then it would be great for the agent too.
100%. You know, fun story. So I was at Zillow's New York City headquarters, New York City
Okay.
offices. This was like, I have to say, this is probably about at least 15 years ago, if not more. And to your point, when I walked into their offices, they had posters of these personas.
Yes.
Okay. And they were more, and to your point, I mean, there was buyer, seller, but there were different profiles of agents as well. Like, because as you know, I mean, a Gen Z agent versus an agent that's mature in the industry for 25 years, how do they? So I'm with you. The personas were like, I think I even got screenshots of them with their permission. They were like 8 or 9 personas overall
Yes.
of people that use Zillow and how they would, and so customer obsession, you got to give it to them in terms of what they're doing with customer
For me,
obsession.
that was the main driver. Very smart people, but always thinking big, moving fast, but with the consumer obsession. And so I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that was one of, for me, the biggest learning of that
yeah.
company.
So tell me a little bit about HouseWhisper in terms of number of people, what your vision is for where you think HouseWhisper is going to go.
Yes. So we have around 20 folks working on this. We are in office. That's another thing that we're in Seattle, where there's really good talent
Yeah,
for engineers and AI. And I believe we want, I want all engineers around here. We're in the office, everyone side by side, so we can build together because it's changing so much, this
100%.
technology. Every Friday we sit down and discuss a new paper, a new model, and so how that impacts the work that we're doing in the industry. And so that for me is fundamental in person, having everyone here. We have around 7,000 agents using it across the nation, and the vision for us is to really keep bringing this technology to help. The ultimate goal is to help the buyer and sellers, guide them through the process. It's such an emotional, difficult decision. I want agents helping through that. So I want to empower, make those agents superhumans that can guide more and more people through the process. That's the ultimate goal for us. And I believe this technology can do a lot of that. A
Yeah,
lot of that. This technology can empower that. It's not another tool. I believe this can stitch together a bunch of tools by just speaking.
yeah,
And that's the modus operandi for us.
yeah. So how are you thinking about, obviously you touched on it briefly, the evolution of AI LLM advancements is like breathtaking, right?
Yes.
Like literally. So as a co-founder of a company that's built on AI helping solve and better outcomes, etc. Um, how do you evaluate new models? Like, what's your initial like? Because like I remember ChatGPT's journey from their initial voice model was like, but the most recent one that I saw was light years better than where it was like just even
Yes.
2 years ago. So how do
Yes.
you, as a co-founder leading a company, look at models and how it would really escalate your offerings, and how do you sort of keep up with that? Just give me your Lewis's take.
Yeah, no. So first of all, we built everything in our systems, knowing that models are changing so much that everything needs to be easy to change across the board and easy to test.
Hmm.
Because sometimes there are a lot of regressions. Because if you have
Yeah,
different processes with certain prompts and certain workflows, certain data, and you change the model, it could be a smarter model, but it can, because you added so much guardrails and things around this process with a new model that is smarter, it actually can make everything bad,
yeah,
even though it's smarter. So what we do is we have an easy way to switch models every time we have models, and then we build a way to test everything that we do with the new model, so we can see, are the results better or not. And if they are, so we have systematic AI as a judge, and also humans looking at this. I think we need the combination of the two. So that's how we do it. And as I mentioned, every Friday we meet and discuss the new models. Everything is new. And if we test it in some things, and personally or other engineers test it and say, seems better, we go through the process of testing across the board. So it's a constant. If we
yeah,
don't continue doing this, we are dead, because this is changing so fast. And a model a year ago to a model today, it's a massive difference. Even also costs. The costs are going,
yeah,
well, down, up, down, up. But there are tasks that we were doing that we were spending thousands of dollars. Then now it costs us significantly cheaper. But we bring the other model, and then it goes back to. So managing costs is also very important in this process as well.
so this is the most technical question I want to ask you because I don't want to
Yes.
lose our audience, because audience are, so as brokers and companies in the real estate space look at deploying AI, right? So the cost, the token costs, obviously there's enough been written about that. um, what's your position on open source models like a Mistrals of the world versus Anthropic and ChatGPT? Obviously, it depends on the use case, but how are you thinking of managing costs, looking at even open source and that sort of thing? Give me your take on that at a high level.
Yes, I think I do believe that the first principle for us is, can we have the smartest models in most of our things, especially when you are creating something new?
Yeah.
Because if you see the trend of price of every model has been exponentially to decreasing. So a model that may cost you a lot today, in 3 months it will be half the price,
Yeah.
or a third of the price. So I don't want to, from a startup, we have been very aggressive saying, no, try with the latest, the newest, the strongest. Now, once you set up a right process that it's working very well, then as models evolve and new models get there, I don't change that much. If it's working very well for my use case, then
Yeah.
I try to find other. We use Meta. We use any model that we can use open source that does the basic things well.
Yeah.
Because also it's not only cost but also speed. The smaller models are faster, and so you can do it very well. So our approach has been, for innovation and new things, go with the latest. For tasks that you already proved the case and you have a good prototype, then you can try with something cheaper. That's our mental model for this.
Yeah. So build the ideal outcome you want with the best model. And then as models change, see if you can get the same outcome with a cheaper model.
Exactly.
Right. Great takeaway. So let me get to the final two questions, Luis, that I ask all my podcast guests. So the first one is a leadership principle, like that that sort of has held you, kind of keeps you on point of what you need to kind of focus on. Is there one leadership principle that you sort of remind yourself always as to why you're doing what you're doing? Anything that you can share with the audience?
I think it's the similar lines that we were discussing, is obsess with the problem you're solving more than with the solution that you have.
Yeah.
And really get deep into the problem you're solving, and that makes a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. Great advice. Yeah, especially stay narrow in your lane and do better than anybody else.
Totally.
Right.
100%.
Are you a book or a podcast person, Luis?
Both.
Okay, so you can go either way. Is there one book or podcast that has deeply influenced you and that you look forward to reading regularly, going into it, that has shaped who you become?
I think for this moment in my life and with AI, the book that started me, this was from my Professor Karim Lakhani, and he wrote a book in 2020 called Competing in the Age of AI. This was before ChatGPT, but it gets the fundamentals right. So having, for example, and things that I think you and I discussed, do you have the right data? Do you have the right pipes? Do you have the right infrastructure to build on top of that? And for me, it doesn't change. Even though the new models, you need to have that to be successful. So that book really gets into that, and it's the foundation that I think every company should be thinking: do I have the right data? Do I have the right data clean so then the AI can use it? So it has been really important, and then paint the picture of what the future could look like.
Yeah, no, that's great. Competing in the Age of AI. We'll put a link to that book in the show notes. I'm going to add it to my list. I'm reading a lot of AI books, but I haven't heard of that one. But I appreciate you sharing that, Luis. This has been fun. I know it's been on my list to have you on the podcast for a while. I'm glad we were able to do it, and hopefully I'll meet you in real life real soon sometime.
Yes, thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure.
If you found value in the show, follow it so you're notified every Wednesday when new episodes drop. Share it with someone in the industry you care for, and leave us a review, as it helps us reach more real estate professionals like you.